Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Monday, February 23, 2026 and I am Abdul Majid Awan and we have some great headlines for you today, some very interesting stories. UAE has thwarted AI-powered terrorist cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure. Saudi Arabia has eased regional headquarters rules and it has reopened government projects to foreign firms. Regional outrage after Mike Huckabee's remarks on the Tucker Carlson show. And tech founder Amjad Masad, the Replit founder, has spoken out against it. We'll give you all the details and we'll show you the clip of where he says what he says. But just to start the show, I'll give you a summary of what's happening globally throughout the weekend. It's called the Global Grid. In the Global Grid, it's been an absolutely packed weekend in business, tech, and AI globally. First, a story that had all of Wall Street talking. Boutique investment bank Centerview Partners settled a lawsuit brought by former analyst Catherine Schreiber. It's really interesting. She claimed she was fired for requesting a medical accommodation, the ability to sleep 8 hours a night. Centerview had argued that consistent full night sleep was incompatible with the essential functions of the analyst role. The terms of the settlement weren't disclosed, but the timing couldn't be more pointed. Jury selection was literally set to begin the same morning they settled, an out-of-court settlement, and a serious gut-check moment for grind culture on Wall Street. Question is your company letting you sleep enough to? But then there's Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg took the stand in Los Angeles in what's being called a landmark social media addiction trial, the first time he's ever testified before a jury. There's a 20-year-old woman known as Kaylee. She is suing Meta and YouTube, claiming their platforms deliberately hooked her as a child, causing anxiety, depression, and body dysmorphia. The trial could set precedent for over 1,500 similar lawsuits nationwide in the US. Oh, and in peak Meta fashion, his team walked into the no recording courtroom wearing Ray-Ban Meta AI glasses. The judge was not amused. Meanwhile, on the AI front, tech giants are going all in on India's AI future. We saw the AI Impact Summit happening in India. There's a lot of criticism on how it was managed, but there were a lot of important people there. Google has dropped Gemini 3.1 Pro. Meanwhile, Microsoft has made a big leadership shakeup, putting AI at the center of its gaming division. And OpenAI is now targeting around $600 billion in compute spend by 2030. A few years ago, 600 billion would have sounded enormous, stupendous, but now it's a normal thing that you can spend for compute. But coming to the first story from the region, from the Arab world, from the MENA region, from our Gulf region, the UAE Cybersecurity Council says it has foiled a series of organized cyber attacks targeting vital national infrastructure, describing them as terrorist in nature and increasingly sophisticated. Officials say the attacks involve attempts to infiltrate networks, deploy ransomware, and conduct large-scale phishing campaigns against national platforms. Authorities also warned that artificial intelligence was used to develop advanced offensive tools, signaling a major shift in cyber warfare tactics. And everyone said AI is going to be useful. It's actually very scary now. Cybersecurity Chief Dr. Mohammed Al-Kuwaiti says the UAE faces between 90,000 and 200,000 cyber breach attempts every single day. That's the number that we're looking at. Many believed to be state-sponsored also. Rising regional tensions are also driving disinformation and online mobilization. Separately, recently, a mobile signal hacking fraud uncovered in Dubai Marina exposed how criminals are now using telecom exploits and social engineering to target victims, underscoring what officials call a rapidly evolving digital threat landscape. I have a video, a very interesting video of Dr. Mohammed Al-Kuwaiti at Davos, which was recently concluded, talking to Forbes Middle East about how UAE uses a three-step formula or defines three categories which to protect against. It's a very interesting video.
Of cybersecurity and how adversaries are using this against any of those nations or their peoples in that perspective. One of those threats is cyber crimes, scams, frauds, deepfake, and many of those things that really impacted the economy and really actually affected many of those entities. Second one is the cyber terrorism, we call it, although it's a really bold terminology, but cyber terrorism, sending the misinformation, the disinformation, the radicalization message, and really trying to affect and impact many of that public opinion. This becomes really impactful to us all, and trying to really affect the critical infrastructures. You know, now a simple ransomware that is actually driven by an AI can really destruct and destroy a whole critical infrastructures. And the third one is cyber warfare. We saw how cyber warfare is actually playing a game, be it in the Ukraine or Russian warfare, as well as the Iran and Israeli warfare, and we were in the middle of many of those things. Now, having these threats in place, it's very important to really design for those threats. We have governance-based approach. We have risk-based approach. All of those are actually tailored toward defending as well as protecting our assets. And this is where, again, many of those countries really excel in using and leveraging many of these technologies in order to protect from these attacks. We have a system, for example, called the early warning systems in the cyber aspects. We detect many of those attacks that could actually perpetrate against any of these critical infrastructures. We have, and this is the most important part, the human-centric approach, where we have something called Cyber Pulse. That's initiative where we spread the awareness as well as we train many of our people. And we have a program called Cyber Snipers, where our team, our people, and many of those private sector as well as government sector and even the society are trained to be the fairest line of defense.
Thanks to the UAE leadership, all the cyber attacks have been thwarted. It's a very nice move from the UAE government. We always talk about the safety and security on the streets, the physical safety and security, but we rarely mention that cybersecurity is one of the biggest part of the safety and security that you get in the UAE and, to be honest, generally in the Middle East. But there's another story which is making headlines, and it was one of the biggest stories over the weekend. And there was a joint statement by a lot of big countries from the Middle East regarding that. But Palestinian, Jordanian, American tech entrepreneur, founder of Replit, Amjad Masad, has publicly criticized the US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, following controversial remarks made on a podcast hosted by Tucker Carlson. Huckabee said it would be fine if they took it all, in comments widely interpreted as endorsing claims that Israel is entitled to territory stretching from the Nile River to the Euphrates. The remarks triggered strong regional backlash. 14 Arab and Muslim nations, joined by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, and the Arab League, issued a joint statement calling the comments dangerous, inflammatory, and a violation of international law that could destabilize the region. In a post on X, Masad said the remarks exposed what he described as an extreme ideology. Masad founded Replit, a fast-growing AI coding platform reportedly nearing a $9 billion valuation. And the video in question, I've taken a clip out of it where Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee are debating the whole idea. And Mike Huckabee first says that, yes, they should take it all, and then rescinds his remarks. It's a very interesting argument that is taking place. Just watch it. Let me know in the comments what you think about it.
Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land, and you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant, so that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be, I mean...
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
But this particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here today.
What would be fine? Well, it's exactly what we're talking about today.
But here's what I don't think
You think it would be fine if the state of Israel took over all
they
of
don't want to take
Jordan?
it over. They're not asking to take it over.
But you're saying that the reason that Israel is legitimate, has this inherent right to exist, is in part because God gave it to his people. And I am going to the same Bible that you're referring to and noticing that that is a huge piece of land. So if God gave them that land, then they have a right to take it now by your definition, unless I'm missing something completely.
I think you're missing something because they're not asking to go back to take all of that, but they
Why
are
not?
asking to at least take the land that they now occupy, they now live in, they now own legitimately, and it is a safe haven for them.
But may I ask though, as because you're explaining what Christian Zionism is and your theological beliefs. And you think you just said it would be fine with you if the state of Israel took all of Jordan, all of Syria, all of Lebanon.
That's really not exactly what I'm trying to say.
I'm asking,
Tucker.
is that what you said? I thought that's what you just said.
It was somewhat of a hyperbolic statement in that, if that's what you feel like that we're talking about, but it isn't. We're talking about this land that Israel, the state of Israel, now lives in and wants to have peace in. They're not trying to take over Jordan. They're not trying to take over Syria. They're not trying to take over Iraq or anywhere else. But they do want to protect
Lebanon?
their people. No, they're not trying to take over Lebanon.
But you're saying that as a religious man, as a Christian Zionist, you agree with a lot of religious communities here in Israel that the justification for this country is theological. It's a contract between God and his people. And I'm telling you that that contract includes a tract of land that is much larger than the current nation state.
So you may be a bigger Zionist than even the Jews are that live in Israel.
I'm trying to understand the implications of your theology for geopolitics, because you're saying that the present government of Israel has a moral right to take over what are now other people's countries.
No, I didn't say that, Tucker.
Then what are you saying?
I'm simply saying that the people who live in Israel, I think, have a right to have security, have safety. They have a right to be able to live in this land that they have a connection to for 30
I told myself, and I said a prayer that I would
years.
not get annoyed, but as someone who is, the father of daughters, when I see child molesters hiding in Israel and escaping American justice, I think I have a right to safety in my country too. So you can understand that I think most people feel they have a right to safety. I do think Israel has a right to safety, and I hope that for them, and I'm sincere, but I'm an American, and I have a right to safety in my country too.
Of course
Don't
you do.
Agree? And I think, but I just want to get to this point. If Israel were to say, God gave us in Genesis 15, all of Lebanon, all of Syria, all the way up to Iraq, would that be legitimate in your view?
I don't think in this particular day and time they're asking for it.
Would it be legitimate?
I'm not sure that it would be.
Why?
That was an interesting conversation. If you want to watch the full episode of the Tucker Carlson interview with Mike Huckabee, it's a 48-minute interview. You will learn a lot of things that have been said, and Amjad and Masad clearly saying that it's not impossible to out these people. You just have to let them speak. But the third story of the day is another interesting U-turn, I would call it, or a different direction that Saudi Arabia has taken, and they have eased a key rule that previously barred foreign companies without regional headquarters in the kingdom from bidding on government contracts, marking a significant policy shift aimed at accelerating major projects. The local Content and Government Procurement Authority says government entities can now contract international firms lacking a local regional headquarter with exemptions processed digitally through the Etimad platform to maintain efficiency and timelines. The earlier requirement introduced to encourage multinational companies to relocate regional bases to Saudi Arabia had raised concerns about delays to complex infrastructure, technology, and giga projects that rely on specialized global expertise and financing. Analysts say the change reflects a more pragmatic balance between localization goals and execution realities. Authorities are expected to grant selective exemptions while continuing to incentivize firms to establish regional headquarters as the kingdom pushes ahead with its ambitious economic transformation agenda. The bigger problem in this was that everyone was setting up headquarters in Riyadh mostly. We saw Google, we saw Snapchat putting up a majlis. We saw every literal big company opening up an headquarters, but everyone was choosing Riyadh mainly. And what we know, Riyadh is a mesh of construction right now. It's a mesh of building for 2034 World Cup, for the 2030 Expo. It's a lot of construction going on. And I think Saudi Arabia realized basically that we should take this rule away or make exception for some companies, because not everyone is going to open a regional headquarters in Saudi Arabia. But there's a very interesting video of former investment minister Khalid Al-Falih, who was recently replaced. And he talks about how this specific strategy was targeting 300 companies, 300 regional HQs. But now the most recent number, which he revealed at FII 9 last year in December, I'm saying last year like it's been 200 years, but it was recently like 2 months ago where at FII 9, he said that the company number has gone to 800. Here's a video of him revealing that.
Companies. We want them to bring the companies they invest in elsewhere and say you're missing out. By being here, they will be able to do that. We want them to bring also a network of investors. Most of them co-invest with other smart investors around the world. And when they come here, they listen to a lot of good ideas in the FII. In 2 or 3 weeks, they will be preoccupied by something else. If they establish and get a footprint in Saudi Arabia, they will see the opportunities for themselves. They will get the prospectus of investments. They will have to face-to-face discussions with the other family offices from around the world, from Saudi Arabia. Today, I'll tell you another data point. We started 3 years ago with an objective, discussed with His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, to bring global companies to Saudi Arabia, not for Saudi Arabia, but for global markets and for sure for regional markets. We called it the RHQ program, jointly by MISA and the Royal Commission for Riyadh, RCRC. We had a target of 300 by 2030. His Royal Highness, as he usually does, raised the target to 500. Today we're approaching 700 companies. We hit 780, I believe, yesterday or today. So we're adding 10 companies a week. And they're companies. We want them to bring the companies they invest in elsewhere and say you're missing out. By being here, they will be able to do that. We want them to bring also a network of investors. Most of them co-invest with other smart investors around the world. And when they come here, they listen to a lot of good ideas in the FII. In 2 or 3 weeks, they will be preoccupied by something else. If they establish and get a footprint in Saudi Arabia, they will see the opportunities for themselves. They will get the prospectus of investments. They will have to face-to-face discussions with the other family offices from around the world, from Saudi Arabia. Today, I'll tell you another data point. We started 3 years ago with an objective, discussed with His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, to bring global companies to Saudi Arabia, not for Saudi Arabia, but for global markets and for sure for regional markets. We called it the RHQ program, jointly by MISA and the Royal Commission.
Just before we leave you for your Ramadan day, for your remaining day, just a small market watch before we leave. Gold is sitting around $5,602 per ounce, up sharply on Friday, fueled by US-Iran tensions and a very important historic decoupling from the dollar. Silver is at approximately 80 ounce per dollar, having had a wild February. It hit $121 in January this year before crashing 35% in a single day. Oil, Brent is at $71.76 per barrel, WTI at $66.33 per barrel, both near 6-month highs on geopolitical risk premium around Iran. When it comes to the stock markets, Friday was a good day for S&P 500, which ended at 6,909, Nasdaq at 22,886, and the Dow at 49,625. All up after the Supreme Court struck down Trump's sweeping tariffs, though Mr. Trump promptly announced a new 10% global tariff in response, as he always does. Europe also finished positively. The FTSE 100 was up 0.56% at 10,686. Germany's DAX was also up, and France CAC was also up and it closed at 8,515 points. Asia was mixed. Tokyo's Nikkei fell 1.12% to 56,825, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng, these two are the market leaders in Asia, dropped 1.1%. But as we look towards Monday, today, the day has already started. On the weekend, DFM and ADX, which are Dubai and Abu Dhabi markets, they were closed on Sunday, so there's no news. Sunday, usually the Saudi market is open, but that was also closed because of National Day. Globally, Nvidia earnings are coming this week, and it will be a major temperature check on the AI sentiment. Only one market was open on Sunday, that was the EGX, and it closed on 49,560.88 points, down 2.18%. So there's a lot happening in the markets, and we will keep you updated on all of it. We will keep you updated about the business, tech, AI, and startup world, all on Smashi Business, on all our social channels, in our newsletter. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you for tuning into the Smashi Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashi Business. Our daily newsletter goes out 365 days, 7 days a week. So you'll find the subscription link in the description if you're watching, listening, wherever you are. This has been a Smashi Business Show, Smashi Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to more than our 2 million monthly listeners across all platforms. You make this possible. I am Abdul Majid Awan, and have a nice day. See you tomorrow.